Welcome everybody to the SharePoint Patterns and Practices monthly community call. So this is the May 2019 monthly community call. It is 14th of May. And the spring is actually quite far. And like I mentioned before we started recording or in the intro, it's a really busy May month. So we had a build last week. Next week we're in Las Vegas in the SharePoint conference. If you're in the US, if you're North American based or in that time zone based, that might be a suitable place for you to drop by. And if you're there, absolutely drop by in the dev booths and our sessions to say hi. We will have plenty of stickers and other stuff available for you. And then a week after the Las Vegas, we will be in the European Collaboration Summit as well. So if you're more on Europe time zone based and you are closer to Wiesbaden, which is really close to Frankfurt, drop by. European Collaboration Summit is pretty cheap conference as well because it's a no profit conference. Now, hoping to see you, as many of you, in those locations, so drop by and say definitely hi on there. My name is Vesa Juvonen. I'm a principal program manager from the SharePoint engineering, so the developer platform team, and our team owns SharePoint Framework and all of the APIs underneath the surface, and including all of the guidance and documentation and open source and all of that stuff. So let's actually get moving. Quick intro, quick note on the Microsoft Teams usage. We are absolutely aware of the Microsoft Teams, and it's a brilliant piece of software. It is quite often more reliable than Skype for Business, but there's a one bit small thing which is still missing from Microsoft Teams, which is basically forcing us to use the Skype, which is the attendee and presenters differentiator. And we can't use really Teams broadcasting because that doesn't support promoting externals as a presenter. So we're looking into this one immediately when the Teams is supporting the presenters and attendee dividers. We will move into the Teams within these calls as well. And that's one of the reasons, by the way, if you have downloaded the recurrent invite, there's an AKMS address in there, so we are able to update the invites without impacting your existing calendar status. Now, quickly on today's agenda, we'll do a quick update on the latest news and monthly summary of what has happened there. Acknowledgement of the community contributors. We did have actually once again the latest or the biggest number of people contributing within the last month. So thank you for being active and helping the community. It might be a small thing it might be as small as a typo fix in the documentation, or it might be a real code example for others to take advantage. So thank you for being active on those. We will have a demo first from Erwin van Hunen. This is really cool stuff. So extracting and packaging modern pages to reusable templates as content or as page templates. So Erwin is basically gonna walk through the process of creating a cool looking modern page and then modifying that, extracting that modern page and creating that as a template, which you can then apply to any site or in any tenant in the world. And you'll get the exact same end result from a modern page perspective, including the content. And then also, we talked about this earlier today. It's probably worthwhile to demonstrate the new capability now supported in the templating engine, which is the page template. So modern page templates. So you're able to promote any existing page as any page in the template as a page template as well. And then as a second demo, Stefan Bauer is going to show how to update your existing SharePoint Framework solutions to the latest versions using the Office 365 CLI. If you're not familiar with this one, the Office 365 CLI is an open source community tooling, which actually will give you a really nice set of guidance and steps how to upgrade your solution. So if you have a SharePoint Framework solution, you want to upgrade that, for example, to the latest version, which is the 1.8.2 of SharePoint Framework, it will actually analyze your solution and it will tell you step by step what needs to be done. I verified and tested this actually yesterday when I was upgrading the SharePoint Starter Kit to 1.8.1 version, and it worked like a charm. So really great tool. So if you're not familiar with that one, please have a look on Stefan's demo, and then hopefully we'll have some time in the end for Q&A on the questions. Now, there's a few questions, or one question at least from Ralph. Is there a link to the build announcements for Office/SharePoint in one place like last year? We didn't actually have any specific SharePoint-specific announcements in the build because the SharePoint conference is next week. So from a SharePoint perspective, the SharePoint developer announcements are actually being done next week more. In my session, however, we did show a preview of implementing Office add-ins using SharePoint Framework, which, by the way, sounds so weird. Using SharePoint Framework to create Office add-ins, almost like using SharePoint Framework to create Microsoft Teams tabs. So we need to figure out what is the new name for SharePoint Framework at some point or sooner or later to reduce the complexity or the confusion around that one. Good. Moving on things, quick recap how our community works. So if there's any questions, if there's any discussion stuff which you want to discuss, please go to the AKMS SP Dev community. That goes to the tech community, and you can have a discussion and ask questions. And we are trying to follow up on the discussions over there. We do have a bi-weekly SharePoint Framework community call, which is happening bi-weekly on Thursdays, 7 a.m. Pacific time. And then on the other weeks, we have a SharePoint General Dev, which is everything else except SharePoint Framework. So stuff like column formatting, view formatting, provisioning, CSM, PowerShell, and everything what is not about SharePoint Framework solutions. And then we have these monthly community calls, which are more like a summary what has happened within a month, second Tuesday of every single month. So there's quite a lot of calls, and we're not definitely expecting you to join up all of these. They are intended to be targeted based on your interest. So are you interested of having a summary what has happened, or contributions what has happened within a month, or do you want to really concentrate only on SharePoint Framework? You can choose to then concentrate on those specific community calls. You are absolutely more than welcome to join all of them if you have availability and interest. Now, quick recap also on the other assets, AKMS SP Dev Docs, that goes to the documentation. We're now hitting 1.2, 1.1 million views over there every single month, which is great. SharePoint Dev Videos, AKMS SP Dev Videos, we have now more than 10,000 subscribers in that YouTube channel, where we have all of the community call recordings and demos and community demos and engineering demos as well. And then SharePoint Dev Issues, AKMS SP Dev Issues. So if you're running into an API issue, please open an issue in that issue list that is getting replicated inside to our internal systems, and our engineers will get that one on their table sooner or later. We're having small challenges of catching up on all of the incoming issues over there, but we're trying to figure out how to improve that process in the future. Now, Q metrics, quick numbers from the last month. So from the April, we are already halfway through on the May, but this is the second Tuesday of month. So we can have a quick recap on what happened in April from a metrics perspective. We had 232,000 watch time minutes in YouTube, 42,000 views, unique visitors in GitHub for 55,000, 271,000 views in GitHub. In Docs, we had 1.2 million views, which is a pretty interesting number. In our monthly summary, by the way, we also shared which are the top 10 articles, which are the most interesting for the community. And then on the PnP reusable components, we had quite a lot of usage, and this is growing all the time. So the PnP reusable components did generate 15.2 billion requests, HTTP requests towards SharePoint Online, and they were used in more than 22,000 tenants in SharePoint Online. So this obviously is excluding all of the on-premises usage because we do not track that. Good. Thank you, Vincent, from the YouTube videos comments. Obviously, in our case, we are keeping that YouTube video channel without any advertisements because it is our official SharePoint Developer YouTube channel. But it's a fair point, and we might be able to fund a few stickers based on that money if we would actually do that. Good. Quick note on the actual numbers and actual usage. This is actually the SharePoint Framework usage. So if you're interested on the SharePoint Framework usage and are considering on investing on it, and the answer is everybody else is doing that as well, and they are actually investing on the SharePoint Framework extensions. I cannot compare, and I cannot give you compare numbers to other areas of Office 365, but SharePoint Framework is by far the #1 most used extensibility in Office 365. The growth chart is just insane. Nobody actually was able to predict the growth chart being this level. Quick reminder on our provisioning service. So if you're looking into having any sample content, sample structures in your Office 365 tenants or in your SharePoint tenant, SharePoint Online tenant, you can go to the provisioning sharepointbnb.com, and this is a really easy 2-click or 3-click process to provision example content to any tenant in the world. And these are using the tenant templating model, which Erwin is actually demonstrating later today. We did push out the latest version of the provisioning service earlier this week. Today is Tuesday, so yeah, basically meaning yesterday, so Monday. And we updated the service to have 2 additional templates, which are using that kind of orange header section aligned with a SharePoint Lookbook template. So this way, you can easily create demo content or example content to your existing tenant, or demo content and example content for your whatever demo structures which you want to use. One note maybe to mention in here, there might be some complications. It is getting better and better. The service, it is actually double checking that the app catalog exists and all of that stuff in your tenant. But if you're trying to, as an example, if you're trying to apply a template on top of existing site collection, there might be some complications if, for example, the welcome page has been checked out, or if you're applying a communication site template on top of a team site, there might be complications on that. But whenever you're running into an issue, we would recommend also testing the templates on a clean site collection, so to avoid any issues on there. Moving on things, just a quick reminder on the SharePoint Dev Weekly. The latest version went live earlier today, so we recorded a latest version yesterday with Waldek, and that is a kind of a weekly magazine to go through what the community has shared within the past week from an article perspective, and what is the biggest announcements from Microsoft side as well. So we're kind of pinpointing different areas of SharePoint development. It is typically 30 to 40 minutes long recording. I think this one was 42 minutes if you're interested in following up on what's actually happening within a community. And obviously this can be found from our YouTube channel. Quick recap on the SharePoint Dev user voice. So just quickly recapping things in here. I marked a few items with the green thing. So first of all, we actually did deliver quite a few of the items in April timeframe. So I've now cleaned up the list of things. The taxonomy thing is being worked on actively. I can't promise an ETA on that one. It seems to be, well, originally it was planned to go slightly earlier out, but apparently there's now some delays, and I can't really explain what are those delays and what's causing the delay, but it is still getting worked on. The support for .NET Core or .NET Standard is being worked on and absolutely in the pipeline. I can't promise on an ETA for that one as well, but it's coming relatively soon. So my hope right now is that it's more than it's weeks rather than months from the, in quotes, the level of a preciseness which I can provide at this point. The one item which has been marked as a yellow is something which I actually mentioned already last time in the last monthly call, that this is more a documentation challenge which we're right now getting addressed. So most likely we're able to actually close this item already later this week. And that would mean that you would be able to use app only to create communication sites or non-group associated team sites in SharePoint Online. So basically with the modern experiences. Now, if you are creating a modern group associated team sites, those are slightly different because there's a multiple services behind the scenes happening for those. But I think getting the app-only calls for communication site supported and non-group associated team sites supported is already a great start. And then you're able to associate team to the non-group associated team site later on, which will actually create the group. So there will be no more documentation on that one, absolutely. Good. There's a really interesting question from Joel, because I want to actually jump on that one. Is there plans to release a new version of TermStore Portal or TermStore UI related onto API? So obviously the APIs and the UI is two different services. It might be actually that the APIs will be delivered through Graph API, which is the area where we are more investing right now as an engineering. But I can't comment anything related on the UIs of the taxonomy service at this point. If there are lot of demand for it. I can imagine that will actually happen at some point as well. Thank you, Ralph, from the lobbyist comments over there. So we absolutely understand the importance of .NET Core and .NET Standard in the pipeline of getting things moving. So absolutely understand that. There was still some background noises, but somebody apparently muted that. Thank you. Quick recap also on the May 2019 update. So this one went live earlier today. So it's basically a summary on all of the people and all of the items which has been released and worked on during the April-May timeframe, basically within the past month. And you can go to the AKMS SP Dev blog, so the developer SharePoint Dev blog, to get access on the full list of changes and the videos and documentation which has been changed within the last month. There was again the highest ever number of contributors, like mentioned, so thank you very much from those. Those are highly appreciated because especially within this open source world, which we're working right now in SharePoint. The full list of people is actually this. Like mentioned, this is the all-time record on the list of people contributing on the open source or the SharePoint open source activities. And that includes the documentations and samples and all of the contributions in the community side. I needed to adjust even the font to make sure that everybody is getting listed properly in this page. This is getting really, really, really small, but I wouldn't want to actually do multiple pages. Now, when we started the PMP initiative back in 2014, 5 years ago, the list was much shorter. So thank you very much for being part of this community and helping others to succeed as well. And from a company side of the things, this is the companies which we have a permission to show their logos, which employees have been given the permissions to contribute on the open source. So thank you from behalf of Microsoft towards these companies as well, for them allowing their employees actively being part of on the community as well. So super valuable thing, because if the companies wouldn't allow employees to actually participate in the community, we wouldn't be, quite often the companies could not be benefit out of the open source assets which are getting released by the community as well. So thank you very much for helping to succeed on this journey together rather than making things more difficult by not sharing the learnings. Good. From a Microsoft side, quite a typical list of people, engineering people and few community members, external, let's say internal community members as well, which are outside of the core SharePoint engineering from that perspective. Now, that was really fast, quite a fast talking. I wanted to be quite fast on the intros as well. And Erwin, I think you did a hosting, was it not the last time, but the time after that? This wasn't too bad, right? We were able to actually do quite a lot of
it was okay. It took you 18 minutes. It's okay.
Yes, I think you did it the same in 12 minutes last time. So when you were the host, I'm still learning on this process of getting the intro as small as possible. But this means that we have 40 minutes time for 2 demos for Erwin and then Stefan, and we should have time for Q&A. I'll check through the IM window if I missed any questions, and noted, by the way, on the requirement or request of having additional guidance on using Office UI Fabric together with SPFx. But Erwin, I think it's time for you to share the screen, and let's cross the fingers that the demo gods are
with us today. My screen should be visible for everyone
Yes,
now.
we can say that. Excellent. Take it away.
Good. So what I will talk about today is basically how we made these templates that you will find in the provisioning service. Because they use basically all the latest and the greatest little tricks that you can do with client-side pages. And I will talk you through how we actually build those templates. So here you have an example of this one of the templates applied to a site, being the marketing landing, and what you see here is, among others, that the header is a bit different. The header has a background now, and if we scroll down, you'll find a section here with a background, and if we scroll a bit more down, you find another section here with a different background. And here's, by the way, this section also has a background. You see there's a bit of a light gray Hope it translates good on your screen. So how did we create these pages? So it's not that we started to okay, we have a picture and then we start to build the pages by scratch. No, we actually started with existing sites. So there was a designer that went to a SharePoint site and started to build that site as it should be. And then we got access to that site and we were able to get the data out of that site and extract basically a template from that one. Now, if there are multiple pages in a site, you might be aware that the provisioning engine currently does not export all the pages. It only takes one page. So we actually have a solution for that I will demo in a minute. So we have existing pages, and so you're happy with them. You added all your web parts on it, and you did all the settings and the background colors of the sections and everything. And now how you get this page into a template. Well, this is specifically the home page, but what I will show you now works basically with every page. What I'm using here is PnP PowerShell, and I'm already connected. No, I'm not connected to the correct site, so let's connect to. No, we'll use the demo site actually here as a demo here. Here, I'll just build a demo page just for the sake of it, and we call this one demo. And I'll add some text here. Hello, PnP. If I publish this page, it's there. Now on PowerShell, I can say export PnP client-side page. And if I enter the name of the page and press enter, what we'll do is we connect to the oops. That's an interesting error message actually I'm getting here. So the demo gods are not with us today.
So Erwin, I think the page name kind of changed, so you see the slash.
Did it?
I would just create a new page.
Oh, good point. Great. Thank you, Bert, for jumping in here. Actually, let's delete this page. But that error message is actually interesting that we got here. I was too fast in typing.
It's an, as usual, very descriptive error message, meaning nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, and interesting also that it allows me to create a page with a dash as a file name. We're going to create a page again. So, call it, typing carefully, demo, text, hello, PnP, and publish. Now the page is there. Going to PowerShell again, connect to my site. It goes really not well. Sorry for this. I work with a debug build of PnP PowerShell, and that means that I have to rebuild my solution that gets it installed in my environment, and that should take a minute, not even. It takes a bit less. This I do on another screen, so you're not seeing what I'm doing here. Almost done. Connecting to the site. Export PnP client-side page demo. And what we now did is that we generated a PnP provisioning template just for that page. So all the properties that are in that page are being exported here. And you see, for instance, here we have the header, we have any security if applicable, we have the sections, we have the web parts in there, etc. So what you can do now, if we look at, for instance, that marketing landing page, this one, and I go again to Visual Studio because I happen to have that open in Visual Studio here. There we have the client-side pages section, and I basically just copy that XML from that single template that is generated and paste that into my client-side pages, and this is how you can build up basically all your pages in your site and add that to your template. Now, if we look at the XML here of the provisioning engine, there is a couple of things that we added since the last release, and that is, for instance, this one, the background emphasis. So this is neutral means it's the light gray, but there's more options there. There's like no background emphasis, light gray. soft. It takes the primary color of your theme and makes it a tiny bit lighter. So that's the soft emphasis. And strong emphasis is basically the main primary theme color of the theme you have applied. So you can do that basically on every section. Set the background emphasis to like neutral, for instance, if you want to. A thing that we also changed in the engine here is that we now allow you to set the header background. Here you can set the background emphasis to strong. That's where that strong orange comes in. And a very interesting change we also made to the engine to make your pages look better and your site in general look better. We allow you now to provision a theme to a site. So in the earlier versions of the tenant template, we only allow you to provision themes to tenant levels or tenant themes. So the theme would be available for all site collections. Now we can actually provision a theme directly to a site collection. And it's a standard JSON theme and or modern theme, or whatever you want to call it, and provision that directly to only that specific site collection. It will be available in that site collection. We even allow you to, if you want to, if you're not interested in providing your own theme here, but you want an out-of-the-box theme, like for instance the orange theme, you can just write orange here and then leave this part empty. Take this away, and the result will be that you will just get that specific out-of-the-box theme applied to it, to your site. So there's a nice addition to make your life a bit easier and make your sites look a bit better. So when you build your whole template and everything has been written down in the XML and you have all your resources available, how do you package this now all together? Because you notice that, for instance, here we have like images in there. There's an animated GIF here. There's more images, etc. So how do you wrap that all together in a package that you can actually take with you and, for instance, give to a customer or whatever? And that's where the PNP format comes in. And if I go to, for instance, the repository that is publicly available already, where we have all the templates available, so the ones from the provisioning engine, and we go to the marketing landing one, you find there's this PNP file here. And this is actually the file containing all those client-side pages with the sections and everything set, and the images and etc. And where does this come from? But this is located in this source folder. So if you go to the source folder, there's a template XML file and there's an assets folder. And in the template itself, if you look in the template file, you'll find a files section. If I can find it here, there's a file section there, for instance, references to this asset folder here. And then where do we copy those files, the images, etc., that are located on the page. So if you have that whole structure done, and you can easily now test this template from this folder, you can say apply PNP tenant template, and it will start to provision this template to your currently connected site. But if you're done and everything is okay, you just basically say, okay, my template, I'm going to read that one, PNP tenant template, into this variable. So now if I just output this variable to the screen, there is my whole template. And this is an object model, so I can actually dive into the sequences and into the templates and modify things even if I want to by modifying the object. But most of the time you just read it into a variable and then you say save PNP tenant template. The template is your template variable, and then out to like PNP file.pnp, whatever file name you use, as long as it ends on a PNP. You see the files it starts to process, and the result is, if you look in the file system, there's this PNP file. And this file contains everything. It contains the template, all the resources that you referenced to in your template, etc. So the provisioning engine, if you do apply PNP tenant template and you provide this file as an input, it will just do the same thing as if you would have this file available with your assets folder. But now it's nicely one file that you can move around from one side to the other. Now, very recently, in the client-side pages, a new functionality was introduced, and that's the ability to use templates. So if we go to the site again, and if I create a new page, you might have seen it. If I go to the root of the site, for some reason I cannot go there. File not found.
You broke it. You broke SharePoint.
I think I broke SharePoint, didn't I?
You probably don't have a home page.
Yeah, I think the home page has not been set.
Okay,
So
good point. I've
if you
been
go to the
deleting
pages
the home
library.
page. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll make this one a home page.
You've been messing around with the same sites too long. So
Yeah. Let's go to this site. It's called demo. Let's go directly to the site. Really, wait, we go to site pages. Make this one, let the demo page, make that a home page. So, yes, thank you. What would I do without you guys? And if I create a new page at this location, I will be asked for what type of page I want to create, a blank, a visual, or basic text. You can create your own templates now. So if I go back here and I go to pages, and then I could have done this from here too, actually, it doesn't matter where I do it. And I create a new site page. And I call it template 1. And I can add some text there if I want to. It doesn't matter, I can fill it up, I can put web parts on there, everything. I can change the layout, I can change the background color and everything. If I click publish, there is a option here, save as page template. Now it's a template. So if I save this page, name can be long. Okay, you have to give it template 1. Save it as a template. Go to my home page. Create a new page. That's not a new plan. New page. There's my template. If you want to package a client-side page in your provisioning template and make that a template on the site, so a page template, it's actually very simple. In the template itself, in the PnP provisioning template, on the client-side page, we have a property, promote this template true. That's the only thing you have to do. That's the only thing you have to do. From now on, it will save this page to your site and it will put it in the correct location and it will be made available as a provisioning template. From PnP PowerShell, it's also very simple. You can actually, if I go back to the demo folder, so we have a bit more screen estate here. If I say get PnP add PnP client-side page, name, we call it on template 2, layout type is not interesting, promote as template. And that's all there is to do. And it will create a new empty, in this case, empty client-side page, and it saves that one as a template. What happens behind the scenes, if you look into the pages, site pages folder, you notice that there is now a template folder. And in that template folder, you see my 2 template files that I just created. Notice that it is not enough for you to create a templates folder and just put pages in there. You will have to either use the PnP Sites core library or PnP PowerShell or the user interface of SharePoint to create a template, because there's a bit more going on behind the scenes than just creating a templates folder. We do the plumbing for you by using, if you use PowerShell or Sites core, and also if you use the UI, they do the plumbing for that for you too. But this is the idea behind templates. It's very simple, very easy. You can easily package your templates, and notice that the templates are site scoped, just available in your site. They're not like tenant scoped. They're available in your site.
Now, Erwin, on that topic which is mentioned, so let's clarify what it means for everybody. So the templates, page templates are site scoped. And that means that if you want to have the same template in multiple sites, what do you need to do?
You provision a template to multiple sites.
Exactly. You
build a single template and you apply it to all the sites where you want it. So,
yes.
For instance, what I would do is I would create a template with only my templates in there, call it my templates template, and apply that to every site collection where I want those templates to be available. Yes. If you make a change to your template, then modify the template in the provisioning template and reapply those templates to your site, and we will overwrite the existing templates.
Yeah. And that's really the reason why we wanted to talk about the page templating and how easy it is to promote page as a template here as well. Now there's a question from Leo around, is it a site in a web or a site collection? It is actually a site, which is a web, so a site.
It's
SharePoint terminology.
It's an end user site. It's
Correct.
a developer web.
Yes. Yeah, that's one way of putting that. Absolutely. And then there was just a random comment on, can I open this template on the Visual Studio Code? And answer is yes, it's an XML template. There's no requirement of using Visual Studio.
No,
here, but...
okay, let me explain that. The reason I opened it in Visual Studio, the real Visual Studio, is because you can actually associate a schema with it. So you get like completion here. You get like the pop-ups and everything, and the attribute examples and everything. Those things like content type ID and publish, because they are two attributes that we can provide on this element. There is unfortunately no XSD schema handling available, or easy XSD schema handling available for Visual Studio Code. That's why I opened it in Visual Studio and not in Code. But it's just a flat XML file. Nothing specific there.
You know. And then there was a comment on, could we have a flag on the export PNP client-side page to spit directly the template, so not just the page? And yeah, that could be one way of doing that. But is it really a case where people want to create a page-specific template?
It actually does.
It only has
actually. No, there's no flip, there's no switch. If I do export this for the page, you see it is a full template.
Yes, it is.
It actually exports a full template.
Yeah. Which basically is then serializable, and then you're able to able to package that as a PNP file. Now, coming back on that one, just one clarification as well, now that we're getting this recorded. Now, if that page has references to images, what do you need to explicitly then pull them down and fix the URLs, right? So this one doesn't do that?
Correct.
Okay, excellent. Yep. So we got that one covered in the video as well. I think that's it for the active questions.
That's the question here about scope undefined. They can very briefly access last, then it's over.
No, there was another one really good question actually, because before we go to the scope, scope undefined. Can you take that one?
Yeah. So scope is an ability in the engine to restrict your template to the root web or any web. We don't know where you come from with the template. We don't make the assumption the scope is undefined. That's basically it. But you can restrict the template only to work on the root web and also on subwebs. That's basically what the scope parameter does.
And then there was a question from Govri. Does export PNP client-side page export SPFx web part along the page? And that's a really good question, just to clarify that.
Yes, and it does not.
Well, yes, it does. Again,
SPFx web part. Sorry, I somehow in my head classic web part in my head. I don't know where that came from. Yes, it is actually exporting the SPFx web part. Yes, any web part SPFx web part will be exported here as a control, and including all the properties and everything you set on that web part. Yes,
including custom ones. But obviously, you need to have the SPPKG package as a separate one.
Right.
On top of it.
Right. And this is something that we should actually add, Erwin.
The package.
Yeah, we can easily detect like there's a custom package we use and try to extract it as well. You
can detect if it's a custom web part and include the package there too. Yeah. Yep. Indeed. Good point.
Good. Let's do some live specking. No, just kidding. I think that's it for this one. So let's actually move then to Stefan's screen. Now, Stefan had a slightly different scenario. So this one was more on making sure that people are aware of the modern pages and how we can export them, and that includes the header and web part definitions and configuration. So you can easily create then modern pages, as many as you want, as part of the templates, or programmatically create modern pages in SharePoint, which should help you on using the modern portals as well. Now, in the Stefan's case and the demo, this is more around the fact that, okay, so I created a SharePoint Framework solution using SharePoint Framework 1.1, 1.2, 1.4, which is 100% still supported to be executed in SharePoint Online. But then you need to take advantage of a scenario which is only supported in 1.8 or 1.82 or whatever. And then the question is, how will I update my screen? How would I update my web part and solution? And then this is basically what we're looking into doing with Stefan. If screen sharing works, it is loading.
Cool. You still see my screen?
And thank you, Erwin, for that one. And Stefan, your screen has arrived, at least for me, and I can confirm that it's visible.
Okay. What I have here is actually the first project. It's my first web part that I ever built with SharePoint Framework. And it works really great over the last couple of months for the customer, but recently in 1.8 actually we got the team support, so basically you can run your web part in Teams, and the customer then come to you and say, hey, can you please make it available in Teams? So therefore, this is one scenario that we need to update our web part. So this project actually, if you want to know which version this project was created from, there is a file in every project, which is the URC file. And when I take a look here, it says 1.0.1, so 0. So it was the first GA version that web part has been built on. So what I can do now to upgrade this to the 1.8 version is, for example, go over here, go to the release notes, go to the first one, then apply the check out what has changed in 1.4, update all the changes in 1.4, 1.5, and so on. And it's really complicated to follow the steps to make it actually working in 1.8. Because there are so many changes, and sometimes the schema changes, and sometimes only the package references only changes. So another approach is with this project. So I go here in the console to my first project. What I can do in here is also is npm outdated. Yes. npm outdated, which actually should bring me all the packages that are not up to date anymore. And I see here the SPS build is the current version is the 1.0.1, and the latest one here is the 1.08.2. So I can go now and upgrade all those packages in here, but this is not a guarantee that the web part actually then lets itself compile and runs everything, because there are schema changes in the source files that you can do. What actually is an approach to upgrade this really old project to the 1.8.2 is a tool that is included in the Office 365 CLI. So in general, when the Office 365 CLI is somewhat like the PowerShell, so when you go in here on the documentation page, you see here commands, and this is for, hey, I can log in and get files and folders from SharePoint Online. I can connect to the Microsoft Graph. But one specific part of this Office 365 CLI is the SPFx. And in here we have a command which says project, and this allows you to upgrade our project to the very latest version. So when we scroll down here, these are all the versions that came out that was published, and all these versions have release notes and some changes in there. So I need to go step by step to 1.8.1 and 1.8.2, which is not really a valid approach. So what actually this command does, it runs rules and changes, hey, your current project is version 1.0.0 and you want to go to 1.8. What are actually the changes that happen in this? Not only in the package.json, in the URC file, but also in the source code. And when I run this now on the command, I see O365 for the Office 365 client. Then I say SPFx for SPFx project upgrade. And then I want to redirect this output to a file. I say here upgrade.txt. And when I go now to my Visual Studio Code, I see here exactly the command lines to execute in here to upgrade the project to the latest version. This is pretty nice, and I can run the script right away. But what I also can do is I want to make sure that what is in there. So I can also change in here the output. Let's say I want to do a markdown file and export everything to upgrade.md. This gives me a easier to read version of this rules that I need to apply to my project and also the findings. I hope this works. So open preview. Yeah, now it works. So it found the project and says the following list of steps are required to upgrade the project to 1.8.2. And the first thing is actually I need to upgrade my core. And the second thing is I need to update my SP web part base. I need to update the types for the React. And all these are the findings from my project and steps that I need to do in order to upgrade to the latest version. And at the end, what you actually see here is a summary that combines all these single rules. You see here, there's, for example, here the tslint config needs to be modified. There's the index.ts needs a little bit slightly adapted. And at the very end, you see a summary that collects all these steps together when I find it.
Yeah, this is a relatively long result file
yeah.
because it's from 1.0 to 1.8.2, which is 15 new versions on top of the first version.
Is it 15 new versions? So, but let's make this a little bit smaller, just in case. I mean, it's nice to use this command to upgrade to the very latest version, but what if, let's say, in your organization you say, okay, we just all use all our projects to 1.6.0. What you also can do in here with the upgrade is I say to version 1.6.0, and then I say output again with the markdown and redirect this to upgrade to 1.6.md. The list should be a little bit smaller, actually. So let's open this up. Yeah, wrong screen. So invalid -t. So to version. Yeah, there's a dash. So now when we look at this list, this is a little bit smaller. And we should be able to find the summary in here. Yeah. So I need to change the schema and things like that. And at the end, when I apply all these changes, then I'm on version 1.6 or 1.8. So it's really convenient to upgrade to different versions or bring it to a new version. Yeah. So, for example, let's check out the URC file in here. The URC file actually showed you before. I need to change generator version here to 1.6, and I will do this, for example, with the package.json. So I grabbed this line out here, upgrade to the let's upgrade this package, the tslint Microsoft contribute. Then I have at least one step of this this task list executed. And if you then, when you run this command again, it really detects what steps you actually had done. So when I execute the upgrade command to 1.6 again, this package that we have installed now should actually not be included in this list anymore. So TSLint Microsoft contribute. We take this out and search for it, and feedback hub. Yeah, don't want to give feedback. And actually, what we see in here, the TSLint Microsoft contribute, is not available in this list anymore. So it gives you, it's a safe approach to upgrade the version. And when you're not sure if you have done all the steps, you can run this command again, and gives you the list what steps you actually need to do in order to make it really run it with 1.8.2. That's one way of using it. So it's really convenient because it makes sure that you don't forget one step and modify all the changes to require to run on the new version. Another tool, actually this tool is so convenient that we use it. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the PnP SPFx generator. In the PnP SPFx generator, we need to make sure that when you create a project, which is a version 1.8.2, that you're able to embed there the right web part, so that you use the right version of the SharePoint framework your project is running on when you, for example, add a new web part. So we use this Office 365 CLI in the PnP SPFx generator as well. So when I go here and, for example, want to add a new web part to this project, and I say you add PnP/SPFx, it uses, I have now installed the version 1.8.2. It uses now the generator of version 1.8.2 and wants to add to this old project that I haven't fully upgraded yet to the newest version, wants to add a new web part in there. And this can be really dangerous because when you haven't upgraded this project, then it adds a code from a different version of the generator. So what we do in the PnP SPFx generator is we use the Office 365 CLI in the background and say, hey, you cannot add a web part right now because your project needs to be upgraded. And what we do in here is to please review the upgrade log. And when I go in here and show the upgrade log, this is actually, it says again here the 1.8.2, and this is actually the version that the PnP SPFx generator is running on. So it is a lot safer or it actually blocks you to add a new web part to this old project before you upgraded everything. Once you have everything upgraded to the 1.8.2 version, then it allows you to add a new web part to this project. And that's basically how the Office 365 CLI works, and so you can upgrade to the latest version, and you can upgrade even when you say, okay, I want to just upgrade to 1.6 for what organizational reason ever. It gives you complete control and in handling those upgrades instead of reading all the release notes that have been in this, like Vesa mentioned, with those 15 versions and what you need to change and tweak in there. Yeah.
And to be fair, Stefan, just to be fully transparent and open on the messaging, our release notes do not have a really bulletproof way of always explaining what you need to update. So from that perspective, using the Office 365 CLI is really, really convenient. It is an easy tool. It is a cross-platform tool. It works in Windows, Mac, Linux, and so it's a great tool for that. And it does has the logic inside of it. I used the tool yesterday to upgrade SharePoint Starter Kit from, I think it was from 1.8 to 1.82, and obviously that the level of steps which needs to be done was significantly smaller. In this case, the scenario is quite hectic from 1.0 to 1.8.2. Now, before we actually move to the Q&A and back on the slides, can you scroll down all the way down if you can find the summary section, because it's super important to realize that there's a combined commands here. Excellent. So you don't have to execute the npm install commands for every single package one by one. And that's super important to realize. So there is a summary of things what you need to actually do in the end. In this case, again, because we're upgrading from 1.0 to 1.8.2, which is a 15 versions, the amount of things which needs to be done is much bigger. But there's a basically, well, that doesn't look too helpful. Stefan,
no,
don't
too long.
make it look horrible. No, but there's a combined set of commands which you can then just take and reuse and execute that directly in the project to upgrade on the right version. Any questions? There was a lot of comments related on super helpful, very helpful on the IAM windows. Any comments related on or questions? From Charlie. Charlie, that was a good question. Will this allow you to downgrade as well? And the answer is actually no. There's no downgrade operations, unfortunately, because that gets really, really complicated on trying to figure out on which version and then analyzing all of the code files and references and all of that. So the vice versa way of doing stuff, unfortunately, is not supported. The downgrading might come into account where, for example, you want to use the same web part in SharePoint 2019 in on-premises. So you would actually want to go back in time to 1.4 version and you created something in 1.82 because that doesn't work that one. There's a quick question from, let me actually get in to get to the Q&A section. So we're able to quick summary. Next SharePoint Dev General Community Call is on this Tuesday. So we'll have Chris Kent doing a list formatting magic, and then Bert Janssen is doing an update on the transformation. So in-place transformation of classic publishing to modern communication side, and that would be pretty cool to see as well. And we're looking into doing some extra demos on Thursday as well. And the next SharePoint Framework community call is still on 23rd, which is a week from now on Thursday, even though SPC is running, because we want to definitely make these things happen. Now, let's actually go to the Q&A section. There was a question related on build announcements. I don't actually, unfortunately, have a handy link directly on what was announced in build. The majority of build announcements were more on the Azure and the Visual Studio side of the things, because build is more around Azure and development, .NET Framework development topics. So because I'm from SharePoint Engineering, it's a slightly different discussion. Can we upgrade SharePoint 2016 / SharePoint 2019 project using CLI? You can upgrade to SharePoint Online, yes. Now, you cannot use, there's only specific versions which are SharePoint Framework solutions, which are specific versions of SharePoint Framework supported in SharePoint 2016 or 2019. So you cannot create a SharePoint 2016 version and then upgrade that to a newer version with the CLI and then assume that that would work in SharePoint 2016. That is not the case. So when you're targeting SharePoint 2016, 2019, you cannot upgrade to a later version. The solution, the Yeoman generator, will scaffold you the right versions, which are optimized for those on-premises environments. Is there a demo doc anywhere using Connect SPO service with app only with Azure Runbooks? Sorry, Russell, not supported. So there is no support for SharePoint Online PowerShell commandlets. So Connect SPO service to connect on SharePoint Online using the app only. That capability does not exist on the PowerShell. SharePoint Online PowerShell. It only exists on the PnP PowerShell, which is an open source. Which is an interesting discussion point as well. We understand that open source might be a challenge for some companies, but with open source we can actually adjust and modify the code more efficiently and faster than using the engineering processes. We talk about this one slightly in the latest SharePoint Dev Weekly. We are potentially in future actually even dropping SharePoint Online PowerShell commandlets and SharePoint Online. And this is a thing where we want to have feedback on in Twitter and in social media and in other channels, that we are potentially looking into combining, or let's put it this way, engineering providing an APIs and then community providing a set of PowerShell commandlets, which are then combined version of SharePoint Online PowerShells and PnP PowerShell, which is the existing one. So interesting scenario, and we're super interested on feedback on that one. CLI is for online primary. That is correct. Very impressive. Any documentation for data privacy? Nothing I can actually throw in right now, and we're hitting the hour as well. PnP generator, SPFx, Microsoft generator, SharePoint are different. That is correct on Sonel's comment. So the PnP generator SPFx is an open source extension on top of the out-of-the-box generator from a Microsoft engineering, and both are closely built on the engineering, let's say, surveillance or close to engineering activities, but the other one is the official one, and the other one is extended version out of it, which is supported to get contributions on. So it is a different thing. Quick reading the Ralph final comment, and then we need to actually definitely close up because we're hitting the hour, trying to get the point of on-prem where we do not have to deploy the farm server to manage bits, but keeps on running on things. Yes. Okay, that's a generic comment. Sunil is asking PnP SharePoint generator SPFx or Microsoft generator SharePoint, which one is recommended? Well, you get more options through generator, the PnP one. It is an open source. It is using actually Microsoft generator SharePoint under the covers, but you actually get more options. So you're able to actually target scaffold your solutions using Angular or Vue if that's a preference for you. So you might say that PnP generator SPFx is more flexible, and a lot of the partners are adapting that one right now because it's adding additional value and it increases your productivity as developer rather than using only the Microsoft generator SharePoint. But again, which one is recommended, which one is better, those are always debatable things. There are so many aspects on these discussions. But I think that's it for this one. We're 2 minutes on top of the hour. Thank you everybody for joining. Thank you Erwin for the great demo. Thank you Stefan for the great demo. We will have the recording available in the YouTube channel within 24 hours, and then we'll definitely ship the individual demos as a videos in the YouTube channel as well. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you for active participation also in the Ion Window. The Ion Window chat and discussions are always super valuable for everybody. Hopefully, some of you will be in Las Vegas next week and we can chat there. And if not, the European Collaboration Summit then in Frankfurt or Wiesbaden the week after that. But we will keep on executing the community calls as well. So see you online. Thank you very much and have a great rest of the week. Bye-bye.